A very warm welcome to Heusden Zolder here in Limburg in Belgium. A very warm welcome to all of you. Hope you had a great Christmas yesterday. And we're here on Boxing Day as all the fans have turned out for a day of racing. We normally expect to have over 10,000 fans here at the Zolder circuit. It's cloudy today, 7 degrees centigrade. And as you can see, it's not too muddy. Compared to Namur, we've moved about 84 kilometres from the circuit we raced in just a few days ago. And this Zolder circuit is a little bit different to that we saw at Namur. 3.2 kilometres in length compared to the 2,500 metres that we saw in Namur. Not as hilly, but we do have Sacrament Hill, which is a little bit of a focal point of the racing. Very importantly though, of course, we're here on the Zolder circuit, which as far as car racing and cycle racing is concerned, is a pretty famous circuit. This is the site of the 2002 World Road Race Championships won by Mario Cipollini, and of course the 1969 World Championship Road Race won by Ottenbros. Here's the previous winners. Marianne Vos loves this circuit, 4 times a winner here. Katie Compton has also won on the Zolder circuit, and the riders warming up around the course today say that it is very, very fast indeed. We will see some fast descents because it hasn't rained over the last few days, and it's going to make things pretty interesting. Here's the World Cup standings. Katie Compton now leads an extended advantage from now Nikki Harris there in second place. She was, of course, third last year in the World Cup. And Sani Kant is in third place in the World Cup standings. There is a little bit of water lying around the course, as you can see, but here's the lineup of the riders who will be taking to the start. We have 51 riders taking to the start line, 14 nations represented, 2 fewer riders than we saw at Namur, so not too many riders have decided to take a little bit of a rest over the Christmas period. It is in Belgium a very busy schedule of World Cyclocross level races. Therefore, all the riders who are looking to keep their form and to hone their form as they head towards the last few races of the World Cup and into the World Championships will be racing pretty much every day between now and New Year's Day. In the field today then, 8 national champions, 1 world champion in Marianne Vos, and the riders now are lined up on the start line. As we take a look here at the handlebars of the world champion, there she is, Marianne Vos, 4 times a winner here. So she will be looking to take that 5th win. Just behind her in the Rafa colours is Gabby Durin there on the left-hand side, the British rider, who is now based mainly in the United States. So we will see her compete today. There is Ellen Van Looy, who's a rider who is really emerging at this level now, as we see the UCI World Cup leader in Katie Compton. Alongside her is the British champion, Nikki Harris, looking pretty composed after Christmas Day yesterday. Here's Sani Kant, who has had a great schedule of races so far this season, the Belgian champion. And alongside her is Lucy Chanel Lefebvre, wearing number 31. The French team with 3 riders here today. There's the European champion, Helen Wyman. And this rider here, Sabrina Stultens. That's the right caption, there we go. So Sabrina looking ready for today's racing. 18th overall in the World Cup as we wait for the start of racing here. Real focus from these riders. We've seen 4 rounds of racing so far in this World Cup, and it has been dominated by Marianne Vos, who took the first round in Valkenburg, and then the last 3 rounds taken by Katie Compton. So the riders now off the start. Here they go as the sprint really emerges, and over there on the right hand side is the world champion Marianne Vos, and as you would expect on the tarmac, she has gone absolutely powering away off the start line. We saw her do this in Namur, but of course we had that very big climb right off the start. This time Vos will use her road speed as they now go left and onto the grass, and it's a real twisting turn round this corner as everyone tries to get themselves into the right position. So a few problems for riders who have got balked through that corner. Marianne Vos from the nice high camera there is leading Sani Kant with Helen Wyman in third, and Nikki Harris has got a big problem here, the British champion. She got caught up there in that turn, and she's not going to be very happy at all with that. A few more riders hitting the deck behind, and through the pits goes a few riders. It's very, very narrow in that little section, and some riders have got some problems here. There we are. It was Nikki Harris who actually got just pushed over by number 14 there, Caitlin Antonou, who's the American rider who rode very strongly in the last round. It was an impressive performance from her. And Harris, who is up there on the top 3 in this World Cup so far, who's had such a consistent season, will not be very impressed at all at being held up, and she's now trying to work her way through the field, whilst Marianne Vos has a massive lead now on the rider into second place in the World Cup, Nikki Harris. So over this little climb, here goes the world champion, and Sani Kant is trying to go with her here. In third place is number 31 there, Lucy Chanel Lefebvre. Behind her is Helen Wyman, there she is in the blue. Following her is number 29, and that is Pavla Havlikova, who dropped down last time in the World Cup because she did not take part. But Katie Compton here in the UCI World Cup leaders jersey and skin suit is a long, long way back, and that is exactly how she was in Namur, and that may well help the British champion Nikki Harris. Meanwhile, Marianne Vos is absolutely loving this course. It's not as muddy as last time, and therefore they're able to just ride, and it uses her road and technical ability to absolutely perfect effect as she goes through the corners without hardly even touching the brakes. So it's a very rapid start so far. Just picking out some other riders. Anna Fleur Calvin-Har goes through there. There's the Luxembourg champion. The Italian champion is also there. Marianne Vos makes a little bit of a mistake round that corner. But 3 riders now going clear. Helen Wyman also having a little bit of a tricky turn. And we would normally expect Wyman to be right up there at the start. It's such a tough start to the race because you really do have to go flat out right into the red zone as Katie Compton decides that she is going to have to run that little section. Marianne Vos really stretching the pace. So now we're on to the grassy section, a little bit of an uphill, and Ellen Van Looy there in the luminous yellow goes through the picture. Caitlin Antonou looking good. Nikki Harris is starting to recover a little bit. Katie Compton looking today for her 20th win in a World Cup. If you look back through her last list of palmares over the last few years, you really do see the consistency of Katie Compton as a world-level cyclocross rider. She's the World Cup leader. She desperately wants to win the World Championships. But over the last few years, I was looking back in the history books, In 2007, she won 2 World Cups. In 2008, she won 2. 2009 was another 2 wins. Following that up with 5 wins in 2010, only 1 win in 2011, so a bit of a bad season, but in the last 2 years, 4 wins in 2012, and so far 3 wins in the series in the 2013 season. So 19 World Cup wins so far for Katie Compton, looking now for number 20. But so far, with the speed of Marianne Vos, that isn't looking likely. But remember last time, if you joined me for Namur, we saw Marianne Vos go out like this and really attack it, and then suddenly she had a really bad patch in the middle of the race, and Katie Compton rode back to her. So this time Marianne Vos, and maybe another few days on from recovering from a little rest period and also a little bit of surgery, may well be thinking, right, I'll give it a good old test today. And then we've got a few days break until we have the next round of the World Cup in Roma before Nome, and then the World Championship. So today is all about giving myself good morale. Sani Kant riding very strongly alongside the world champion. So this Belgian champion rider wearing number 35 there, third in this race in 2012, is so far riding a pretty consistent race as we go further on back. There's Sabrina Stultens, there's Helen Wyman. Following them is Nikki Harris, and I think Katie Compton was just out of the coverage there. Over there on the right-hand side, the World Cup leader up the climb now to Sacrament Hill. And Lucy Chanel Lefebvre having to just jump her way up those little couple of steps. Marianne Vos has already recovered, and she is now accelerating hard, trying to get rid of the Belgian champion. She is giving everyone a real lesson today in what riding cyclocross is all about. Onto this drop-off, made more difficult by the little muddy bit at the top, which means that your tyres aren't going to grip as well as you get to the bottom of that drop-off. And Katie Compton, as we normally expect, is now working her way through the field. Compton now onto this drop-off. Done very, very nicely. Wyman had that crash in Namur, so she takes it a little bit more steady. She's not a big fan of those drop-off type descents, but Marianne Vos coming round now to complete her first lap as Katie Compton now goes off this bridge over onto the other side of the circuit. And here we go. Marianne Vos goes through the line with 1 lap completed, and we'll see what sort of advantage she has. Compton's rode very well into 4th place here. Lucy Chanel Lefebvre is into 3rd. As these riders make their way up to the line, Helen Wyman is looking round for a little bit of assistance, and Compton is about 19 seconds down. Nikki Harris is looking for the front place here as she goes through. 27 seconds down, I think, maybe 26 seconds down on the fast-moving Marianne Vos, and she has an awful lot of work to do to keep her consistent performances that she has had over the last few weeks. Harris has not been outside the top 3 in the World Cup so far this season. There we have Katie Compton in the red shoes as she goes through that little turn. And Nikki Harris is now the rider who's on the front of the pack, trying to bring the rest of these riders back. Marianne Vos, however, is flying around this course. Lovely shot from our high camera as she goes through that twist and turn that Nikki Harris had the problem with. Sani Kant is in 2nd place and still holding onto the wheel of Marianne Vos. A very impressive performance here from the rider who rides for Heusden BKCP, the Belgian champion. We'll see whether Sanne Cant can stay here. We'll look at so far her performances. She finished 5th in Tabor, and then she finished 2nd place to Katie Compton in the sandy conditions in Coxsider. She finished 6th in Namur. Didn't really suit her as much. This course, I guess you could say a little bit more like Coxsider. It doesn't have as much of the sandy conditions, but it could play into the hands of Sanne Cant today. Certainly looks like it is a course that she's enjoying, as Katie Compton goes flying down that descent and takes the left-hander onto the tarmac. So similar to a road race this today, isn't it? You can see just the speed that you have to race at to just stay anywhere near the top placings. Katie Compton now, with that diesel engine start that she generally has, it takes her a little bit of her time to get herself going. Oh, Lucy Chanel Lefebvre made a bit of a mistake there, and then suddenly Katie Compton recovers and she rides her way into the field, and now she's 3rd. Sanne Cant struggling a little bit to stay with Marianne Vos up over this turn, but she is making it up where it counts in these more technical little sections. So the place is Marianne Vos leads, followed by Sanne Cant, followed by Katie Compton. Lucy Chanel Lefebvre in 4th place. In 5th place now is Nikki Harris. Following her is Ellen Van Looy. Sabrina Stultens. Behind her is number 3 there, Anna Fleur Kilvinhar, who rides for the Giant squad. Katie Compton picking her line down that descent. And over the tarmac section, back onto a little bit of grass before you go back onto this Zolder circuit. If you think back in history, you may remember Mario Cipollini winning his world title here with a fantastic sprint. Eric Zabel was also on the podium that day. Well, one rider that is a little bit further back than she was last time in Namur is Eva Lechner, the Italian rider who gave us a real display of powerful riding off the start in Namur, in the Citadel. This time she hasn't really figured. She's a lot further back in the string of riders. There is the opportunity today. There may be a little bit of rain during the men's race. Let's hope it does hold off. But it would play into the hands of Sven Nys today if it did happen. I think the men's race is going to be very, very fast indeed. If you look at the pace that Marianne Vos is riding at, and now Sanne Cant is back in the wheel and doing the right thing, staying right tucked in on the fast-moving world champion, refusing to give in, really hauling the bike over that little turn there, working the shoulders, working the elbows. Katie Compton in her red shoes today, a little bit like The Wizard of Oz. That's a good Christmas film that some people will have watched over the last few days, I'm sure. You'll notice Marianne Vos is riding with her disc brakes on. Nice clean front lines to that bike that she's riding. Takes a nice line there. Sanne Cant is always going to the right-hand side. She prefers that that line as she goes down the descent. Katie Compton choosing the Marianne Vos line. Just letting the arms relax and the handlebars bounce through. Onto the climb then. And Vos picking her line very well as she goes sprinting over the top. No sign of the surgery that she had over a few weeks ago. She's certainly recovered. I wondered whether in Namur that little bad patch she had was purely as a result of the surgery and the treatment she'd been having. Today, she's certainly a rider with a bit between her teeth, but ominously, if you look back, Katie Compton is getting closer and closer all the time. There's Pavla Havlikova. Here is Katie Compton onto this descent now. We'll try and pick up a little bit of a time check if we can and see how much closer she is getting as they go around this turn now over the bridge, this man-made bridge over the Zolder circuit. And Voss recognises, I tell you, Katie Compton is coming back. She was 16 seconds down and she's now 9 seconds down. What an impressive performance. And now Marianne Vos says to Sani Kand, I want you to go through to the front, and Matt Vos looks round to see the UCI World Cup leader. And it's only 4 seconds now. Compton's performance here is so impressive.
About 5 seconds to back up for Katie Compton.
So any moment now, Katie Compton is going to make the junction to the leaders. Lots of fans now out around this course. We normally expect to see at least 10,000 fans here. They all come out after Christmas dinner and they enjoy Boxing Day. 33 seconds is the advantage of the leaders to Nikki Harris, who is second overall in this World Cup. 39 seconds to Stultens and Van Looy. And then there were 3. The 3 leaders then in this UCI World Cup Cyclocross. Sani Kand leads ahead of Marianne Vos, with Katie Compton now in the wheel as Harris is having to work really hard. She just had that little problem when one of the riders put her into the padding at the side of the track in the first little turn. But slowly but surely she is coming back. She'll want to keep her consistent performance that she's had. Never outside the top 3 in a World Cup so far this season. Well, when you look at the performance of Marianne Vos, she's only ridden 2 of the rounds so far. She finished first in Valkenburg, finished second in Namur, which puts her now up in the top 5 in the UCI World Cup with 110 points. Katie Compton has 230, Nikki Harris with 185, Sani Kand with 141, and Helen Wyman is in 4th place with 112. So we're looking here as Katie Compton now attacks the 2 leaders. Wow, that was some attack there. Well, basically, she's ridden across a 16-second gap, and now the American rider is turning up the pressure on the rest of these riders, and she is now trying to distance herself from Sani Kand and Marianne Vos. And yet again, Vos is having a steadier lap this time, like she did in the first few laps of Namur. She had a little bit of a bad patch and she couldn't go with the acceleration. So Katie Compton stretching these 3 riders now, trying to open up an advantage. She's only won on this circuit on 1 occasion. Vos has won 4 times. Sani Kand is able to go with the attack of the American. Well, the Belgian fans at the side of the track are so knowledgeable. I've noticed a few other nationalities here. The fan clubs, of course, of many of these riders, as Harris now attacks Lucy Chanel Lefebvre. She's decided she's really got to try and get across to these leaders as quickly as possible. Katie Compton now is opening up a little bit of a gap on Sani Kand, who is absolutely sprinting her way up this climb to try and close the gap. It's such a tough effort in cyclocross. Your heart rate is absolutely sky high. on the maximum, so often there is very little opportunity for your body to recover. There is Ellen Van Looy in the luminous yellow. Van Looy, who was 10th in the Belgian Road Race Championships, a 33-year-old rider, has had two cyclocross wins so far this season. Really an emerging season for Ellen Van Looy of Belgium. Right, we're back onto the circuit again, and the speed of Marianne Vos should come into good effect here, which she immediately uses. She decides, right, I'm a faster rider on the tarmac than Katie Compton, so she attacks Sani Kant, and now she's going to race across to the American. This is such a fantastic race. The Namur race was great, and it's a tussle between the American Katie Compton and the world champion Marianne Vos. Well, thank you to all of you for watching. I know it's Christmas time, but it's great to join you here for World Cup cyclocross action. Do join me on Twitter at @McCrossan if you would like to. And you can keep up to date with all the world cyclocross goings on the UCI website, of course. Compton on the front in the white colours, followed by the world champion Vos. Sani Kant starting to struggle a little bit. Those shoulders are going all over the place. She has produced a magnificent effort so far. But as you can see, Vos is riding a much more tempered race. She is using her strengths. Looking down there just by the barriers is Marianne Vos's brother Anton, taking some photographs as Vos hunts down the UCI World Cup leader just in front of her. Compton having some little rests, you can notice now and then. Just on the tarmac, just takes a little bit of time to freewheel, sets herself up. That gives the muscles just a microsecond to recover, helps the heart rate come down as Sani Kant takes her usual line, hugs the right-hand side and goes flying around that corner. She's got the measure of that one. She much prefers that line. Here's Nikki Harris, followed by Lucy Chanel Lefebvre. Up onto the climb, Compton has a little bit of unsteady footing that time. And Vos just following her with the bike shouldered. There is Sani Kant. Compton looks so composed. Just that familiar style, just clear lenses in those glasses today. Harris goes to the right-hand side, taking the same line as Sani Kant. She's trying to come back now. If you don't know the history of Nikki Harris, she started racing for Great Britain when she was 16 years of age for at World Cup mountain bike level. She's ridden on the track for Great Britain and also represented them on the road as well, so she's got all-round technical skills. Katie Compton, interestingly, is a tandem pilot on the track, but has really focused on cyclocross over the last few years. Marianne Vos, on the other hand, can pretty much ride anything. She's a world champion on the track, in cyclocross and on the road. Heading up to the completion of this lap, 2 laps of racing to go, and there are 2 leaders. The average speed is now 25 kilometers an hour. To give you a comparison to Namur, the average speed was under 20. Compton and Vos, now the leading duo in this World Cup. Lucy Chanel Lefebvre is giving Harris a hard time, whilst Ellen Van Looy here races back. Sabrina Stultens of the Rabobank team is tracking them well. I think Sani Kant now is paying for her previous efforts as she tried to stay with Marianne Vos. She'll just try and recover a little bit. The head is rocking a little. She'll try and get that heart rate to calm down a little bit if she can, and then she'll try and come back to these leaders if it's possible. If she's gone too much into the red zone, she may never reply, but we'll wait and see what happens. It's such an interesting course, this one. Being cleverly laid out around the Zolder motor race circuit. You can see the normal red and white turns. And now we crisscross on and off the tarmac, through the grass, onto the climb. And now and then we hit a little bit of sand as well. Well, Sunny Kant looks like she is starting to accelerate again. She'll want to hold on to this third place. She won't want Harris to come back to her. And Compton tries again, accelerates a little bit more. Marianne Vos following the acceleration of Katie Compton, who wants her 20th win in a World Cup today. So far this season, has one in Tabor, one in Koksijde, one in Namur. Last year she won in Pilsen, in Koksijde, Roubaix and in Namur as well. She won back here in 2010. So the crowd enjoying this race as they see the Belgian champion go down the descent. Compton's got the measure of that corner there. Sunny Kant tracking away through the trees, left and right, just avoiding any of the major routes. She doesn't want to hit those at all. Compton's just trying to test Marianne Vos all the time. Vos now has unzipped her skin suit the same way that she did in the Namur World Cup, and that was the moment when Katie Compton realised she had the measure of Marianne Vos, and she started to give her a hard time. And immediately, as Marianne Vos has done that, Compton has accelerated, and Vos, maybe not having ridden so many cyclocross races this year, is starting to pay for the fact that she doesn't have the consistent performances on the World Cup cyclocross circuit yet this season. But for Marianne Vos, it will all be about the World Championship. She will want the rainbow bands as the World Cyclocross champion again. Now she zips the skin suit up. She's got a little bit of air back into the body just to cool the core down a little bit. Well, it's a real tussle between these three riders. Number 2 there, Ellen van Looy. The face is telling a picture of a little bit of pain. And suddenly Katie Compton is opening up a big advantage on Marianne Vos. She has cracked her. And Vos is somehow trying to recover. She did manage to recover in Namur and started to race back to Katie Compton. Well, Nikki Harris told me that yesterday she had Christmas dinner, the same as most people do. No alcohol, of course, and went out for a little spin on the bike just to keep the legs nice and loose, ready for today's race. And that's pretty much what most of these athletes do. It's such an important part of the season. Here goes Compton. Well, Katie Compton, without doubt, is inspiring a lot of American riders. You look through, they've got so many riders here. In fact, 9 of them in this UCI World Cup, with Meredith Miller, who finished 6th in Tabor, Caitlin Antoneau, who rode so well in Namur, the new young pretender, Elle Anderson, Crystal Anthony, Ali Kemmerer, Nicole Duke, Maureen Bruno-Roy and Courtney McFadden. They're the American squad. And real strength in depth from the American cyclocross scene. And Katie Compton helping these riders a lot with the knowledge that they can compete at world level. Compton sucking in the air there as she clicks her way through the gears on cantilever brakes, as you can see. think I'm right in saying that she's got Schramm on the bike compared to Marianne Vos, who is there with the disc brakes. No problems for her with those as she goes left-hand side down the descent, really bumping her way through there. Compton, well done onto that climb. The gap is growing. It looks to me like the Belgian champion should be riding into a podium position here. And Katie Compton back onto the bike. Now she'll accelerate over this little rise yet again. Sani Kant slipping a little. There is no one behind her. So through the turn, onto the descent. And we'll see if we can get a bit of a time gap on Marianne Vos. Here she is. So she's going to turn left now onto this descent. And the gap is suddenly 10 seconds. Here's your third place rider, the Belgian champion. Being urged on by the fans at the side of the track, whilst back onto the Zolder motor race circuit goes Katie Compton. 31 minutes of racing covered, and Compton is going to take the bell now. 1 lap of racing to go. One lap to go for the world champion Marianne Vos as she kicks on to try and catch Katie Compton before the finish. 13 seconds the advantage. Compton goes past the motor race grid. 1 lap to go now for the Belgian champion Sani Kant. 32 seconds is the gap. Oh, Katie Compton had a little bit of a slide there. The front wheel really banged down off that curb. And Marianne Vos accelerates. Don't know whether there's a little bit of a rut opened up in that little turn. But it sounded much more harsh than it has been before. Here's your 4th, 5th and 6th place riders who are not helping each other at all. And therefore they're going to let Ellen van Looy come back. And the reason why these riders are not riding is because Nikki Harris is in here and she is 2nd in the World Cup. And therefore they're expecting her to do more of the work. Lucy Chanel Lefebvre does, though, manage to help. 122 is the advantage of Katie Compton. Now and then Compton just gets out of the saddle, just giving herself a little bit more comfort as she goes over the bumps. And here goes the rest of the chasers. Compton knows she's just got one big effort to secure her 20th World Cup win. Round this left-hander, a little bit muddy through there, doesn't take it flat out, but now works hard to go up over this rise and then ducks and leans the bike through that right-hander. Vos goes a slightly different line that time, leans the bike as she goes very close to the barriers. Now she's onto this climb. She'll sprint up here, really pushing on. A little bit of a grimace on the face of the world champion. So Vos goes round that left-hander there. Sorry about that bit of picture breakup. Here she goes, twisting and turning her way through that right-hander. You've got to get that corner absolutely right. Go as close to the left-hand tree as you possibly can. As we look back now to see the 3rd place rider, we join up there with Katie Compton as she whooshes her way through that camera shot. Here's the Belgian champion. Only a few more minutes of effort for the American. They call her KFC, as she now twists and turns through the last few little technical parts downhill. Lots of talk that there is going to be some lobbying going on for cyclocross to join the Winter Olympics, which starts, of course, in Sochi in just a few weeks' time. And it would be fantastic to give these athletes the chance to race in the Winter Olympics. Their discipline really lends itself well to the Winter Olympics. Here goes Katie Compton as she now sprints round that corner. You'll notice just how soft those tyres are, probably around about 18 psi today, as Vos continues to press home her advantage in second place. Vos has finished second in Namur, and she won in Valkenburg. Today she looks like she's going to finish second again here in Zolder. Sani Kant should manage to hold on to third place here. Back onto the Zolder circuit for the Belgian. Really high cadence, keeping the pedals turning over as we watch Katie Compton on this little narrow section. Today she's hardly got any mud on her whatsoever. When she finished in Namur, she was absolutely covered. As Harris now attacks her group, she's sitting there in fourth place. She'll be pretty disappointed to drop out of the top three today. But it should see, I think, hold on to her second place overall in this World Cup. We're not looking at her losing that at all. Katie Compton will increase her advantage. 5 races completed. We'll have 2 races left in this World Cup. The next one in Roma. Then we move to Nome in France. And of course the World Championships, if you're planning to try and go and see those in Hoogerheide at the end of the month, they're going to be absolutely stunning. The crowd's going to be huge. The atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric. As we wait here for the world champion to just drop down this descent. Here we go. Vos can't now see Katie Compton in front of her. She's already up the climb. You wonder how much of this, though, is all about Marianne Vos just honing her form. She won in Valkenburg, then she had a gap, now she's coming back and she's still finishing in second place in these World Cups when potentially she's not right on the top of her game. Onto the descent yet again. There goes Katie Compton. This year, though, with the performances of Compton, you would say she really deserves the world title, but I know for certain that Marianne Vos, Nikki Harris, Helen Wyman are all gunning for her in the World Championships. They've all just done massive blocks of training. As we head now towards the finish, here is Katie Compton, the UCI World Cup leader. She's really pleased with this one. This is World Cup win number 20 for the American. She sits up and she looks ecstatic with that. She started so steady today. And she raced her way through the field. She caught the world champion and then she's left her on the road. So Compton takes the victory. In second place here is going to be Marianne Vos. She is going to finish 18 seconds down on Katie Compton at the finish line. In third place here comes the Belgian champion, Harris is looking like 4th place unless Lucy Chanel Lefebvre can catch her, the French rider. But Sani Kant again on the podium. Here she goes, heading up towards the finish line. The Belgian champion is 3rd. Well, the 23-year-old claps her hands. She's happy with that. Lucy Chanel Lefebvre had a good opening start to this race. Here goes Nikki Harris. She's going to finish in 4th place by the looks of things, but Chanel Lefebvre is sprinting to try and stay on the wheel. The Telenet Fidea rider is going to finish 4th today. Her first time out of the podium places, but held up by that little tussle in the first lap. Harris is 4th. Chanel Lefebvre is in 5th place. Sabrina Stultens is in 6th today. Here is Ellen Van Looy. She finishes in 7th. So far in the standings, she's in 6th place, so she should hold on to that place nicely. Next riders coming into the finish line are Sophie de Boer there in the blue and yellow, and number 3 is Anna Fleur Calvinhart. Every single sprint point counts. Helen Wyman, not a great day for her. She's going to be in 10th place, the European champion. May still be a little bit shaken after that crash the other day. Eva Lechner, the Italian, just behind her. And here is Havlikova crossing the line now. I don't know whether Havlikova's had a little bit of illness over the last few days. I must just find out. But let's turn our attention back to the American. Katie Compton wins her 4th race of 2013 in the World Cup. It's all going right for her so far. She won in Tabor, she won in Koksijde, Namur, and now in Zolder. Well, here's the result of today. Katie Compton wins in 38 minutes 43 seconds. Marianne Vos in 2nd, 20 seconds down. Sani Kant in 3rd, 56 seconds down. There's the rundown of the top 10. Caitlin Antonou again up there in the top 20 in 14th place. Noticeably Hanke Koopvanagel there in 16th today. Well, as our cameras look across the pits area, they'll be emptied. The men's race will be here in a little while. We will, of course, bring you the podium presentation of today's World Cup Cyclocross for women. Here's the World Cup standings, so confirmation then that Katie Compton extends her lead at the top with 290 points. Nikki Harris now in 2nd still with 225. Sani Kant with 186. And Marianne Vos moving closer in 4th place now.
Op 5 januari afspraak in Rome en op 26 januari afspraak voor de slotmanche in het Franse Nome.
Well, let's take a look back then at the highlights of today. Marianne Vos was the rider who was really accelerating away. Nikki Harris got her handlebars caught there. around the padding, and that paid to her start. At this point, though, look how far back Katie Compton is. She wasn't even in the picture in the first 10. But now, as the race continued, Compton accelerated. Technically riding stronger than any other rider. With about 15 minutes of racing, she could see Marianne Vos and Sani Kant, and then once she caught them, she didn't wait, and she accelerated, attacked them hard, and went on the move. Marianne Vos tried to use her speed on the road to race back to Katie Compton. They left Sani Kant behind. But with every little twist and turn, the American rider, as she searched for her 20th World Cup win, tested out the world champion, and eventually she managed to crack her. Compton opened up an advantage, whilst behind her Marianne Vos gulped in the oxygen. You could hear her trying desperately to put a bit more effort in to come back to her, but she never managed it. At the finish line then, the American sat up to take another well-deserved victory. Vos raced in second place, and Sani Kant finished in third. So we're getting ready, I hope, to hear from Katie Compton as to how her race went today. Don't forget, we will bring you live coverage of the men's race today. The fans are enjoying the atmosphere, getting themselves ready for the next event, as we see our next rider finishing there. And looks like we have a problem for the Rally Clement rider, Caroline Marnie. Looks like her gears have completely wrecked themselves. If you look at the back of that bike, former French champion, having to sprint all the way to the finish line. She'll want to finish. She's 17th overall in the World Cup. Well done, Caroline. Here's Katie Compton.
Katie Compton, after Namur, this looked like Groundhog Day. Same scenario with the missed start and then an incredible comeback.
Yeah, it was really hard for me today. Like, I actually hit my pedal and then got off to a decent start, but then I just got pinched. I kind of got cut off, and then I had to relax and not overlap wheels and get too crazy at the start. But I waited a little bit and lost a bunch of spots and went to the pit to try to kind of take a new bike and pass people, but that didn't quite work, and I ended up in the back. But I just got into chase mode again, and I'm good at that. So I just went as hard as I could, and like once I caught Marianne and Sana, I just relaxed and recovered a bit, and then I attacked kind of on the far side of the course.
You begin dreaming of a world title now?
No, not yet. You know, I'm riding really well right now. I'm really happy with my form. Like, I mean, to beat Marianne twice, it's pretty amazing. Like, wasn't quite sure I could do it. So, yeah, of course, Worlds is huge. It's right up there on the top of the priority list. But, you know, Marianne always comes in faster at Worlds. So, you know, the ability's there. It's a matter of bringing it all together on the right day.
On the other hand, you beat her on a course like this the week after she returned to racing. That's new. That's a premiere.
It is new, yeah. I mean, when she races, she always races to win. So I know she's always comes in with good fitness, but she only gets faster. So I just need to get faster too.
Congratulations. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So an interesting analytical interview there with Katie Compton. She knows Marianne Vos will just get faster. She's a rider who can just train so hard. There's the lovely slow-mo shot of Compton racing across the line. So she knows she's got to keep working hard to give her a little bit more of an advantage on Vos and see whether she can bring home that dreamt-of world title in Hoogerheide.
Dames en heren zijn klaar en de dames zijn ook klaar voor de huldiging-ceremonie. Maar onze June als publiek.
Looks like he's enjoying himself. So we wait for the podium presentation now. Here we go. Here in this very famous motor race circuit. Has held Formula One here many, many times.
Ceremonie van de wereldbeker vrouwenrijden 2013 Heusden Zolder categorie.
Some reflective faces there today.
De Belgische kampioene Cyclocross.
Sonny Kant now heading on to the podium in third place today.
Eindigt als tweede wereldkampioene Marianne Vos.
The world champion tried hard. Second place for her today.
Vier keer op 5 weet zij een wereldbekerwedstrijd. 290 punten op 300 scoort zij in de wereldbeker de Amerikaanse kampioene Katie Compton.
The form's good, the technique is good, and even when she gets left behind, she's still able to chase and get back to the leaders. Katie Compton wins in Zolder today.
Voorzitter van de algemene vergadering van circuit Zolder. Jacques Heijnen, voorzitter van de raad van bestuur van circuit Zolder. En zorgt ook al een bestuurder van het circuit. En ik zou nu uw aandacht willen vragen, dames en heren, voor het nationale volkslied van de Verenigde Staten van Amerika. Your attention please for the national anthem of the United States of America.
So the national anthem of the United States. There's the podium of round 5 of the UCI Women's World Cup Cyclocross. Another win for Katie Compton. 2 rounds left to go. Roma and Nome are next on the horizon. Thanks very much for joining me today for this UCI Women's World Cup. We'll leave you with the sights of the podium as the riders celebrate their performances today. From me, Anthony McCrossan, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye for now.
In de damescategorie zo dominant door het seizoen heen raast. En dat geeft alleen maar standkracht voor de komende weken. Met nationale kampioenschap in eerste instantie. En uiteraard het WK later in Hoger. En felicitaties aan Katie Compton, aan Marianne Vos en aan Sonnekant uiteraard. Mooi plaatje is dat. Zelfs als je geen fotograaf bent. We gaan even huldigen nog. Uiteraard, we hebben een leidster nog gekregen. Heusden.